So welcome everybody to episode 61 of Level Up. As you know, 60 minutes of live Q&A where your questions and votes really do drive, well, everything that we do. Now, look, we're constantly improving and building out these shows and adding more functionality into them all of the time. And today we're going to be experimenting a little bit with bringing in your comments live from the chat. So I can already see quite a few folks joining us online, both on LinkedIn and also on YouTube. So please do go ahead, introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us where you're joining from, which city in the world you're joining from. And that would be really brilliant. You'll get a warm welcome. We would love to hear from you and involve you in today's show. We're also going to be sharing a link in the chat, of course, for you to vote up the questions that you would most like answered. And of course, to add your own. We live stream Mondays at 8 and Fridays at 2 p.m. UK time, both to YouTube and to LinkedIn. And today we're going to be talking about how to become a change manager, a role, of course, which is so much in demand. There are thousands of job opportunities out there at the moment, just waiting for talented people such as yourselves to be able to fulfill them. And I'm delighted to welcome an equally talented panel of experts. So let's jump in and meet them. Joining for the first time today is Bev Andrews, who is a director over at Aspire Change Management and an experienced change management consultant in her own right. Bev has worked across multiple industries, including some time in both local and state government. So welcome, Bev. Great to have you on Level Up.
Thank you so much, Nick. I'm nervous, but very excited, and hopefully the bags under the eyes don't take over. And hello from Perth, Western Australia. It's great to be here.
Okay, Perth, Western Australia. What a beautiful part of the world to join from. And it's absolutely delightful to have you on the panel. So thank you very much indeed, Bev. Carlie Bell is also a newcomer to Level Up, but not at all to change management. She is the founder of the Real Impact Consulting Organization, where she focuses on enabling people to really thrive at work. She's an award-winning leadership coach and consultant and is working towards becoming a qualified neuro-linguistic practitioner. So welcome, Carlie. Great to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. I too am really excited to be here today, and I'm tuning in from London, Ontario, Canada. So I'm on the other side of the pond. So thanks for having me, and I'm excited to see what's going to unfold.
All right, fantastic city, Ontario, and I hope that all of the lake effect, snow, and all of that is truly behind you, and spring is in the air, and the cherry blossoms are out, and everybody's looking forward to a long, hot summer ahead. No, there's a few little, maybe it's a bit too chilly there just yet for the cherry.
We're in a bit of a
but
teaser moment, so.
Okay. Classic Ontario. Spring, one day winter, the next day you forgot your sunscreen and loads of problems ahead. All right, let's move on then. Joining us from a different London, I think. Anyway, Shontelle Bryan. Of course, she is a regular panelist on here on Level Up. I do apologise, Shontelle. She's actually returning for her fourth appearance, I think, today. She's the managing director and lead trainer at Change Consult, where she specialises in engaging with corporate executives, helping them really kind of lead, if you like, change and transformation. She is, as I've said, a regular contributor and delivers masterful training, I have to say, in person and online. So welcome back, Shontelle. Great to see you.
Thank you so much, Nick. It's a pleasure to be here again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. We also welcome back Yogyata. She's joining us for her fourth appearance on Level Up. We warmly thank her for sharing her time with us. She actually earns her living as a change management professional working in the semiconductor industry. So fantastic to have you on the panel again, Yogyata. Thank you so much. Great to see you.
Thank you, Nick, for the opportunity. It's great to be here again with the amazing panelists. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Completing our panel of experts today is John Millar. John is a project management assessor and coach over at Leeds City College here in the UK, where he works extensively on the modern apprenticeship programme, preparing people for their work and supporting them as they deliver value in their organisations, learning and working in parallel. So welcome back to your second appearance, I think, John. It's great to see you.
Thanks, Nick. Great to see everyone today, and I really look forward to our panel. I'm sure it'll be a good one. And let's have your questions and let's get going.
Okay, yeah, very good indeed. Excellent. And some fantastic interaction from everybody online. Thank you so much for introducing yourself. We really are a global audience today. So it's absolutely brilliant, from the frozen north of the Northern Hemisphere all of the way to the warm midriff of the globe as we span the world together. All right, very good. Our question master for today is Ellie Bowett. She is joining us from Oxfordshire here in the UK. So welcome, Ellie. A little bit of a different role for you today.
Yeah, I think I might prefer this one, Nick, actually. Hello, everybody. Hello, panel.
Hello.
So
right,
our
well,
first question...
Yeah, please, if we could get our first question going, that would be absolutely grand. We'll come back to chat a little bit more in a few minutes. All right. Thanks, Ellie. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so our first question for today is from Amy from New York. And Amy would like to know, as change managers, what skills do we need to continue work on and develop?
Okay, John, why don't you start us off on this one?
Great stuff, thanks, Nick. I think the main thing to borrow is a term from project management called requirements management, which is how to engage your stakeholders in an approachable, engaging way to understand their requirements. And that really helps the planning of the change you're going to do and the project you're going to do, and gets lots of ideas from them. You don't have a monopoly of ideas. Lots of people have different ideas. The key thing is to analyze them all and to put them into a coherent plan of action. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much indeed. Shontelle, your thoughts, and then we'll hear from Bev.
Okay, so change managers need to continually work on their active learning. That is extremely important for their job, as well as strategy. Being able to come up with very unique ways of doing things based on issues or challenges individuals are having is very crucial to the role. So being able to increase your strategic awareness and your strategy skills is also important, as well as flexibility. We all need to be flexible as changers and go with it. So being able to be flexible on it is a skill that I think is worth developing.
I would say absolutely right so far, panel. You're spot on here with your advice to everybody. Thank you very much, Shontelle. Bev, and then Yogyata.
I think you definitely need to continue to work on your engagement and your interpersonal skills. Listening, being curious, asking questions, being empathetic. But just as Shontelle was saying, just really ensuring that you're keeping your learning up to date, keeping yourself focused on the strategy and where the business is driving its changes from. So looking after yourself, but certainly building that trust in your relationship.
And thank you very much indeed. Great advice there. Yogyata?
Yeah, I think I agree with the rest of the panelists as well. But for me, it also, we really need to work upon understanding the requirement of the customers or the organization, where is the real problem and what we are going to change. And the need of the people and the people side of the change. We need to understand people as well at the same time to make that change. So for me, that's it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Carlie, final thoughts on this one?
I agree with what everybody has said. I think those are all critically important skills. And for me, certainly the fundamental ones have everything to do with relating and communicating. And certainly for me, one of the big things that I'm constantly looking out for is new ways to negotiate with people and communicate with people to overcome change resistance. Everybody resists change, and everything we can learn from psychology, from sociology, et cetera, that allows us to understand where the resistance is coming from and how to approach it and to acknowledge it and recognize it and work with it in new ways, I think is a really, really useful skill.
All right, absolutely spot on. I would just add a couple of things. One is resilience. Okay, it's really good. You have to train for resilience. All right, marathon runners are not the same as sprinters. Okay, so train yourself, pace yourself for resilience, and be prepared to, like the marathon runner, take on new fuel throughout. All right, otherwise you will run out of fuel. All right, and as a change manager, you will hear more challenge than you will necessarily uplifting commentary. So with that in mind, be kind to yourself, recharge, okay, refresh, renew, and just kind of shake your shoulders off a little bit sometimes as you transition from work to home life and family and friends and all of that good stuff. Very good. Excellent start to the show panel and some amazing interaction online. Thank you so much, everybody. I can read what's happening in the chat. It's a fantastic level of engagement there. Ellie, if we can, let's take our next question.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. So we have a question from a live viewer. Carlie would like to know how to convince or motivate fellow workers to adapt to change as quickly as possible.
All right, this is a common thing for change managers, isn't it? It's about kind of what's that famous phrase from Heraclitus? It's be like the river and not like the rock. Okay, Shontelle, start us off, and then we'll hear from Carlie next.
One thing you can do to motivate a fellow worker to adapt to change is to articulate what's in it for them, how they're going to benefit from the change. I think once you bring it down to the person level, individuals would be able to better see, how it will benefit them. And, they may jump on board quite quickly. So what's in it for them is an important thing to articulate.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Carlie, your thoughts, please.
I would also add that this is a great opportunity for you to use some of the coaching skills that have been really sort of recognized as useful over the last while and be able to engage in conversations, asking the individual not just about what's in it for them, but what's in it for them if they don't, and what is it that they're really fearful of, and see if you can work with them in order to help them understand that pursuing change is scary for everybody, but set a safe environment, make sure that they're supported, and that tends to help people through it a little faster.
Right. Very good. And Bev, your thoughts, please.
I always think, people are like icebergs and you just see the little bit on the top. So really it's around being empathetic with them and just exploring what is it that's not motivating them and why they don't feel that they want to adopt the change, and just acknowledge that and then help them come up with some things that they can do to actually remove some of those barriers or make themselves feel a little bit more comfortable with what they're facing into.
Yeah, excellent thoughts, everybody. Thank you so much. I guess sometimes as well, folks, it's not a matter of kind of selling change to people. It's just a matter of explaining it. We're all grown-ups, and I think sometimes organizations try and oversell what's happening. Okay, it's rare these days that anybody in the C-suite truly knows what's going to happen next. All right, we can anticipate to an extent. We can set strategy. Okay, we can set visions and missions and goals and all of that good stuff. But ultimately, we need everybody to jump on the bus and come on the journey with us, because for sure, it's not always a straight line between 2 points. Okay, we may have to meander a little and find our way around global pandemics, supply chain challenges, the absence of certain components, all right, so on and so on. This is real life, okay? And real life is rarely straightforward. All right, very good. Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. And what a brilliant question. So thank you so much, Sakadi. Fantastic to have you contributing to the show, being one of our producers, driving the panel in a particular direction. Ellie, let's do that again, please. Let's take our next question.
Thanks, Nick. We have another question from a live viewer. Ahmed would like to know, sometimes you're afraid of making the right decisions. How do I get over this?
Oh, okay. Little by little. Let's start off. John, your thoughts. How do you encourage, because a lot of the folks you work with are early career, not all of them, but many of them are early career or changing careers. How do you encourage people to find that courage in themselves?
A lot of the people I teach are at the start of their career, Nick, as you said. And what I encourage them to do is think and do things outside of work in spheres that interest them, whether that be sports or community projects. It gives them the confidence, the ability, the experience of leading a team through change. And it doesn't, it's a safe environment in many ways because they're usually dealing with friends rather than an adversarial relationship in their work. And it gives them a bit of confidence and a bit of start to the whole process of managing projects and change.
Volunteering is such a brilliant way of being able to build these skills up, these life skills up, isn't it? It's fantastic advice. Thank you so much. Bev and then Yogyata.
So just leading on from what John was saying around volunteering is having mentors and a support network around you so that you can sort of talk through the decision, talk through potentially options and consequences, and also listen to how you feel about the decision, and then take a deep breath and give it a go, because if nothing else, you're going to learn from it.
Absolutely, absolutely right. You know, it's one of those things. Experience is something that you find when you're looking for something else, isn't it? You have to actually get involved, all right? Get engaged and do something. Okay, it rarely turns out as badly as you imagine that it might, if that makes sense. I might rephrase that in a moment when I've thought it through a little bit. Yogyata, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I think you are always afraid of making the decisions, whether it's right or wrong. The point is that we decide wisely that we want to take part, like the rest of the panelists also said, that even if we don't succeed, we will learn from it. And an example, I am here, I tried volunteering here for past couple of level up. I made this decision and I'm here right now with the rest of the panelists. And yeah, so it's been good.
Yeah, I totally agree, Yogyata. Very kindly, okay, Yogyata responded and volunteered. You know, when we said, you know, please join us on the panel, put yourself forward, and so on. We're really looking for people who are actually doing this stuff in, you know, in real life to join us. You know, she volunteered, okay, and is a fantastic contributor, and we're so very, very privileged. Okay, to have you on the panel. So thank you so much. Excellent job, panel, and a brilliant question again. So thank you so much, Ahmed. It's fantastic to hear from you. And for all of those people who are going nuts on LinkedIn right now and joining in with us, it's fantastic to see. So thank you very much indeed. Ellie, let's move on. We'll take our next question, please.
Sure. So the next question is from Edith in Bournemouth. And Edith would like to know, where's the best place to start a career in change management?
Okay, so where is the best place to start? I suppose every journey begins with the small step. Carlie, let's get going on this one, please.
I think a career in change management starts anywhere, anywhere where you're working with people and being able to start understanding how to relate with people, how to understand people. That's the place to start. And then build from there based on the things that interest you and where you see challenges and opportunities where you can contribute and have an impact.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. It's great comment. And Bev, your thoughts, please.
I certainly agree with Carlie on that. The thing that I suggest to people when I'm talking to them about how do you get into the profession of change management is very much an individual starting point, and it really does depend where are you right now. So, you know, if you're in an organisation already, is there opportunity to volunteer to be a change advocate? Can you look at getting a secondment, perhaps, into you know, a project role or a change role, a communications role, a training role, anything that's got those complementary skills. So my first step is really where are you right now, and then where can you move if you're in an organisation. It's obviously more challenging when you're not in that type of organisation, but that's usually a very good starting point. You know, where are you? Where have you come from?
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. The other thing to consider as well is you know, you become the people that you hang out with. All right. So start looking for change communities around the world, there are several to choose from. The Change Management Institute themselves, who are, I think, based in Australia, but they have branches all over the world. They're a great community of practitioners to join, and it's not an expensive thing to join. They're all volunteers, so you can join for a fairly modest fee there. There's also the Agile Change community as well. All right, so you can consider, joining that group. And there's a whole variety of others, that provide meetups, virtual and physical. Now that the healthier times are returning to most countries, thank goodness, you can go and hang out with folks and learn from others and so on, and really just share ideas. And that is a brilliant place to begin. All right, it builds up your vocabulary of change. What is the vocabulary of change? And when you get confident with that vocabulary, that gives you a fantastic insight into the way that human beings think and behave. We're all creatures of habit, and it helps you think your way into those sorts of situations. And I just want to do a couple of shout outs. So thank you very much to all of the folks who are following us online. There's a whole variety of different people who are out there joining in with us. So it's really lovely to see. And if you've got suggestions as well as your of communities that are worthwhile joining, then please do put them forward. So Bev's just reminded me, so thank you very much indeed, Bev. We also have the Association of Change Management Practitioners as well. And we'll provide a little link to that organisation in the chat as well. Shanice is right on top of that today. So thank you, Shanice, for doing all of that work. Ellie, let's move on then, if we can, please, and we'll look for our next question.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. So this is a question that's just come in from a live viewer, Flora Wang. And Flora would like some advice on how to bring passive leaders who hold strategic roles in the organisation along the change journey and turn them into an advocate for the change.
Well, I can tell you, wherever you are in the organisation, individual contributor, team leader, manager, or C-suite, change can be scary. And the higher up the organisation, the more people's sets of beady eyes are looking at you for all of the answers. And of course, generally, you don't know all of the answers. So let's hear from the folks on the panel. Bev, start us off, and then we'll go to John.
Okay. Hi, Flora. How do you bring a passive leader along that holds a strategic role? Very much depends on the relationship that you have, whether you have a direct relationship with that person or whether it's more indirect. Also trying to understand why they might be passive. Is that just their general leadership style? Is that actually more of their personality style? So are they more of an introverted type of leader than a go-getter? But also understand the types of relationships and the support network that they are close to, and building relationships with those leaders as well to potentially influence. Because sometimes you can't go directly to a leader and sort of have potentially a confronting conversation. So you do need to do a little bit more of your homework and look around for a coalition to actually help you.
I think it's really important, actually. It's a lonely role, being a leader. Okay, by definition, it is.
Yeah.
Right? There are fewer leaders than team members. So bear that in mind and have some empathy for them, and just reach out and suggest. It's a really good place to start. Thank you so much, Bev. John, and then Shontelle, please.
Thanks. I think one of the problems senior leaders face is that they spend their working life talking to each other. And why not just invite them along? If you've got a business development call, I'm sure they'd love to come along if you gave them that opportunity. But if they don't have the opportunity to respond to an invite that you give them, they won't get that experience of A, seeing you in action, and B, seeing what customers really believe and say about your organization. So why not try it? What can you lose by not trying?
I completely agree. And all leaders, they want to be accessible. They yearn to be approachable. Okay. And sometimes it's that distance that comes with the role that keeps them apart from individual contributors and great ideas, by the way. So I think you'll genuinely find, okay, a lot of love if you just, brave that a little bit and reach out to them and help them. Thank you so much indeed, John. Great points. So, Shontelle, final thoughts on this, please.
Building trust with leaders in the organization who hold strategic roles is really important. That allows you to have deeper level conversations with them, to understand challenges, and for you to offer some advice, as well as keep these senior leaders updated as well along the change journey, so they know how things are going, what inputs are needed, etc. So it's all about trust and communication.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everybody. Some great advice. We're going to move on fairly promptly now, if we can, because the questions are really stacking up. I want to try and get through as many as we can. Ellie, can we take the next question, please?
Yeah, you certainly can, Nick. So this is another live question. This is from Mitch, who's watching us on YouTube. And Mitch would like to know, are there any recommended resources on career paths for change managers, especially practitioners looking to advance their career in this field?
It's a really good point. We talk a lot about how to enter a career, okay, and not much about how to progress when you're, kind of mid-career, and extending those skills and gaining that experience and getting into those higher risk situations where you can genuinely add value is super, super important. So one of the things that I would suggest is that you definitely use those community links that we were speaking about earlier. At this point, it's less likely that a formal course is going to deliver for you, but a coach or a mentor is absolutely the way in which you could access that kind of little lift, that you're looking for. Bev, how do you help people in this situation? Because you do a lot of this.
Yeah, so I certainly agree with you that extra courses may not always be the answer, but it's around looking at diversifying your skill sets, so broadening them out, but also getting some depth in them as well. So it could be the fact that you might have done a lot of project management type of change, so maybe look at moving more into the agile and the lean world, or moving towards more doing some strategic change. So actually looking at your organizations, meeting up with different consulting companies, following people on LinkedIn that might actually be able to give you some insights. But it's very much around looking at how do I specialize, but how do I also broaden outside of the field that I'm currently working in.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much indeed, Bev. Yogyata, what are your thoughts on this?
For me, in today's world, there are a lot of resources we have available online, courses, certifications that are ready to help for going ahead in the change management or the change management profile. Personally, for me, when I started working as a change manager, I started working in an IT service industry. So for me, I had a bit of mentor, a guider who can coach me, talk about change management. I used to sit down with him. But then you have so many, you can Google it. So basically, I did that, and I came to know that there is something that exists called APMG. That was my research that I did, and I came to know that there is something called people side of change, because that was completely new for me. So you have, like you said, Nick, and there are so many things online, change management institute community that are available, wherein you can reach out for guidance, for mentor, and for the coaching purposes. So I think these are some of the available resources that I can think of now.
Yeah, certainly some great advice there from the panel. The other thing that I would suggest to you all as well, LinkedIn began as a community, right? It was community first. And it is a fantastic resource. Now, all of us, me included, would welcome connections, all right, from anybody who is in the audience today. You're absolutely invited, okay, to reach out to me on LinkedIn and make a little connection with me. That's absolutely fine. The one thing that I would ask in return, try not to sell us anything, okay? That's just a little bit of a hint about making a connection on LinkedIn. Your first exchange shouldn't really be How many of these would you like to buy? And I'm sure that other panelists as well would also welcome that. So please feel free, reach out to us. Okay, that's what we're here for. We're absolutely going to help you, and we can point you in the right direction and so on. So we'd be delighted, all right, for you to connect with us. And thank you very much. I can see so many people actually online. So Priya, brilliant to see your questions coming in. Thank you, Priya. Lovely to see those. We've also got Lewis, who's kind of nailed it finally with Shanice. So very good. Well done in getting your comments and your points across. All right. So fantastic, everybody online. All right. Let's move on then, please. Let's take our next question.
Thanks, Nick. So this next question is from live viewer on LinkedIn at the moment. So Preeti would like to know, with experience in IT change management, how does one progress to OCM? Does an HR certification help?
All right. So moving out of a functional change area like IT and into organizational change management. Carlie, start us off on this.
I'm going to give this a shot, but I can share that I actually was pursuing my PhD in management information systems. And when you start looking at IT and you're looking at change, there's an awful lot of models that come out in the IT world that really are about how to work people through change. And so when you're shifting here, you do want to focus a bit more on looking at the individuals. So anything to do with more psychology, anything to do with a better understanding of human relations, conflict, communication, negotiation, overcoming resistance. And certainly HR certifications can assist in that, but even just experience and opportunities to apply your IT thinking and your processes in different zones and spaces, and again, volunteering and linking with your network in order to have those conversations, I think is a great way to pursue that and make that change.
Yeah, really good advice there. Thank you so much. Very insightful, Carlie. Thank you so much. Yogyata next, and then we'll hear from Bev.
I started with working in IT change management, and somehow I feel it doesn't matter what kind of a change management you are doing it. People side of change management, which is basically OCM, will always come in picture. So you still have a bit of pieces of OCM involved in IT change management, and yeah, that's how I feel. And answering the other question, does the HR certificate? Sorry, Nick.
No, please go ahead, Yogyata.
Yeah, certification, I think somewhere it does help to give you some kind of guidance and coaching, but I think the experiences that you get in job is more helpful than the certification.
I completely understand that it's a blend, okay? And I have an IT background, okay? So in my background, I joined Oracle about 100 years ago. And I was an organizational change consultant. And at that time, that company was not known for organizational change. It was known for technology, databases, we were always joked about, whereas, here comes the guy that never sees sunlight, because you guys all work in the basement, all of that kind of archetypal, type stuff. It's complete nonsense, of course, because problem solvers, empathetic individuals, people who have amazing people skills, work in all different disciplines, in accounting, in IT, in human resources, in sales, in enablement, in logistics, and so on. And you'll find people across the spectrum in all functions of a business. What does certification do? It gives you a passport so that people will view you differently to that archetypal stereotype. And it gives you, if you like, a ticket towards a journey. That's what it is. It's just a ticket. It is not a destination. Okay, you need to actually put it into practice, volunteer as Yogyata did, and change your career, take ownership of it and drive it forward, which is a fantastic thing to do. All right, excellent. Very good question. Thank you so much, Preeti, for putting that in for us. Okay, very good. Ellie, let's move on, please.
Okay, we have another question from a live LinkedIn viewer. So Lewis would like to know, how important is experience of a variety of sectors in truly becoming a change manager?
Okay, so this is more from the point of view of rounding us out. Okay, as practitioners, Yogyata, your thoughts, please, and then we'll hear from Shontelle.
I think somewhere the experience always matter. It doesn't matter which sector it is. For me, in the past, as an example, I was working in a consulting firm, and now I'm in a semiconductor industry, which is a completely different kind of an industry. But my experience have helped it in truly become a change manager. For me, it has always been the baseline of a change management hasn't changed. Whether I change the company from service management to a semiconductor industry, the baseline is still remained the same for me.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Shontelle, your thoughts?
Experience in a variety of sectors does help your knowledge and your skills over time. But what I can tell you about my experience working in different sectors is that you find that even though you may work in healthcare and you may work in advertising and possibly in financial, the issues organizations face are more or less the same when it comes to managing change. It's just probably to different degrees that they may have different challenges, but the challenges fundamentally remain the same. So different sectors do help. It allows you to apply your skills in different ways, but fundamentally, you're going to come across the same issues regardless to the sector you choose to work in.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Shontelle. That's my experience as well. Where I would give some consideration, Lewis, is to think, please, about not so much the vertical industry, but the geographic. Okay, because business culture in different countries is very different. You know, how change is managed effectively and efficiently in Southeast Asia will be different to how you manage it in Western Europe, will be different to how you engage perhaps with folks who are in the upper Midwest in the US, and so on and so on. So it's really worthwhile, if an opportunity comes, to volunteer to get that experience of different geographies, okay, different business cultures and so on. You will not regret it. It's a hugely enriching experience. If I have to say, it was brilliant for me, although my waistline has suffered. How can you not eat such wonderful food from all over the world? You know, it's fantastic. Anyway, let's move on. Ellie, I'm beginning to feel peckish, but we'll take our next question if we can.
Thanks, Nick. So the next question is from Priya, another LinkedIn live viewer. Priya would like to know, what are some of the critical success factors in any change management assignment?
All right. Okay. John, start us off. What are the critical success factors?
Look, any change requires people to actively listen. And this is a skill that can be practiced. But if you brand everyone as difficult people and stereotype people, the communication isn't simply not going to work. So you said before, Nick, different cultures, different languages, different experiences enables you to be empathetic and communicate with people in a way that they are comfortable with and that they can trust you. So I think active listening is the most important skill.
Excellent advice. Thank you, John. You're spot on there. Bev, your thoughts, please?
I'm going to take us down a different path there when we come to critical success factors, because it's definitely around the adoption for the individuals on how proficient they feel with the change, how the business is not disrupted with the change, and how it transitions into its new world as smooth as possible. So whenever I'm looking at any change management assignment, the first thing I'm looking at is, well, what does day one look like, and how do I get the business ready? And I start that as early into the assignment as possible, so that there's no surprises. Everybody's been given the opportunity to learn or to communicate, to ask questions. Your leaders know what to expect, and so really it's as smooth as possible. And day one sort of happens without any hiccups. So I always look at the adoption. What does it look like day one? And then get that business readiness happening as early into the project as possible.
Excellent advice. Thank you very much. Carlie?
I find that it very often requires an awful lot of courage, and that as a change manager and somebody really responsible for somehow helping it to occur, whatever the it might be, it sometimes means that you need to be the one to ask about or point out or ask questions regarding that elephant in the room. And that can be difficult. And so I think the ability to be humble, have humility, be authentic, be trustworthy, but also to have the courage to be able to bring up some of those things that may have been overlooked or haven't even been considered, and they may be key success factors for the actual rollout. So I think those are some of the critical success factors also involved.
Yeah, I agree with what everybody said there. I think there's a couple of other things to consider, folks. So firstly, you need to be able to establish trust early on, to John's point. Okay. And that can mean on occasion borrowing the authority of somebody else. Particularly if you're working as a consultant, you have a privileged position in the sense that you're an outsider. So if you speak common sense in a language that is colloquial, what I mean by that is fits in with the local business culture, then you are going to be listened to and you have that privilege. Now, that privilege doesn't last forever. So you need to use the early days to establish your own credential and your own trust to bring people with you. So borrowing the authority a little bit of others is sometimes a helpful thing to do. The other thing that I would say about critical success factors for change is that as the change manager, management is a verb, all right? You have to do something, okay? And that means thinking ahead. What are the unintended consequences of this, of every communication, all right, of every interaction, of every sprint, of every nuance that the project and the program and the portfolio is going to go through over the next 4, 5, 6 years of transformation, whatever the C-suite have in mind. So think forward and find, if you're not a planner, find a planner. By the way, you'll know if you're a planner. Lots of people think they're planners, but they're not. Okay. When you meet a planner, boy, do you know what a planner is. All right. So that's my little hint for you. Okay. Transformed my career in change management when I met a professional planner. Boy, what a difference did that make? Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. Let's move on. Ellie, please, if we can.
Okay, so the next question we have is from Sarah Wentworth, and Sarah would like to know, what if you don't like the direction of change for your organisation, but you have to champion it?
Your personal challenge, okay, versus your professional responsibility. What if you don't like the direction of travel? Well, here is one of those situations where there's going to be varying degrees of personal conflict here, or conflict of interest, if you like. Okay, I'm a great believer that it becomes transparent if you are trying to sell something that you yourself don't believe in. People find you out super quickly. Okay, so if there is something which is on a certain level for you, which says I don't subscribe to this. So, for instance, I personally have never worked in the defence industry, and that was a career choice for me early on. I thought, I want to do good. Okay, I don't want to harm people. So as a result, I just didn't go into projects that were, to do with defence. And looking back on it, I might have missed out. All right, but you have to be true to yourself sometimes. Okay, and just manage your own exposure like that. Yogyata, what are your thoughts on this?
I think, sometimes it does happen that the direction the organization is taking, you might not like it, but as a change manager or a change professional, then I would like to or expect to understand why the organization is taking that direction. Maybe I'm not able to see that, So I would first understand that why my organization is taking that direction, and of course I agree that you need to believe in it, in the direction, and coach and mentor and accept it. Also, that's one thing that I would do. That okay, this is the direction that an organization is taking. Either I can, accept that or reject that. But in the end, that's I have to believe in it. So that's how I feel about it.
I agree with you there. There's a spectrum here as well, and don't be afraid, all right, to go and ask those tricky questions, to speak truth to power. All right, get the opportunity to go and talk to those folks who are. They're usually not the C-suite. Actually, it's usually senior management in a business who are interpreting a strategy and turning it into a plan. All right, that is the interface where sometimes unintentional mistakes can be made, and a disingenuous approach becomes apparent. All right, it's particularly true when you are trying to bring in greater agility into an organization, which in the past perhaps has not been particularly agile. Put it that way. All right. Okay. Very good. Thank you very much indeed. There's some amazing interaction going on social media. So we're just going to spend a moment or two having a look at a couple of the comments. So if the team on the social media side could highlight some of those. So thank you very much indeed. There's been some really, really interesting dialogue. We're not able to cover all of it, of course, on screen with you. But if you have missed out earlier and you're just joining us now, this is one of those episodes to replay a little later. That's the nice thing about live video events. They are all curated for you, and you can go back afterwards and watch them. And on the YouTube version, you can even watch them by question and jump using the chapter markers to an individual topic or question that you like the look of. All right, excellent. Thank you very much indeed, everybody. Let's move on and we'll take our next question, please, Ellie.
Okay, so we have another question from Preeti watching us on LinkedIn. Organisations usually have a strategy and project management team. How do you set up a change management team, or which team does the change manager join?
Well, that's a great question, isn't it? So, Bev, why don't you kick us off on this? I'm sure other panelists are going to jump in pretty soon.
Okay, so it does really depend on the size of the organisation, the strategy, what's being delivered in the strategy, and obviously the project management team, the amount of work that they are facing into. So to set up the change management team, quite often they sit in parallel or underneath within the project management team, and I would start with trying to look down the track. So with the strategy, is that a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year strategy? Talk to your PMO about how big this portfolio is. Try to actually get a sense of sizing the amount of work, and where is the value for bringing in a change resource, because it's not a cheap and it's not an easy decision, and you probably will have to build a case for it to get the business to actually find the resourcing for it. So look at the size, look at the value, and where do you think you can actually add that value in a reasonably quick way so that you're building that reputation and that trust, and go at the pace that the organisation is going at. And then finally have somebody who is either part of the a senior lead of the project function or the strategy function, and help them become an advocate so they can sponsor change management going forward.
Very much. Shontelle?
Okay, so if an organization has both teams, let's say a strategy team and a project management team, it may be best for the change manager to sit outside of both of those teams and possibly have that change management team set up to deal with specific projects that the project management team would be handling, for example, IT projects, and potentially the projects that the strategy team may be involved in, which may be more culture projects or efficiency projects. So it may be best to sit outside on a business level and interact with senior leadership, as well as the directors of the company, to find out what the changes are, as well as with the strategy and project management team to find out what initiatives you need to help with. So that's my take on, the best place that you can sit in order to fulfill the organization's requirements.
really, really good advice. So the other thing that I would suggest as well is that great change managers never really own the change, all right? In the sense that, let me try and qualify that remark for you. We may be accountable for it, okay? I get that, right? We may be responsible for a whole range of different deliverables as part of it to improve the management of change and ensure that it is professionally and appropriately managed. But the thing is here is we're never going to own the resources, okay? So we're not in charge in that regard, all right? But what we can do is we can build our influence with others. And so I would say, wherever you are, build that community of practice concept within your organization. This is a fantastic way to break down those silo barriers, elevate people who have real talent for this, real talent. Look at the org chart and then put it to one side and then go and ask somebody who's in charge. All right. And you'll discover a social network of influencers within any business where people always go and listen, to Mary. Mary is the person that knows everybody, knows everything, knows what's going on, knows the heartbeat, and so on and so on. You need to find that social network, all right, with the organization and work with it and see if you can elevate some of those folks, help them, train them, bring them up to your community of practice. It's exciting for them. It's dynamic for you. And boy, is it valuable for the organization as well. All right, excellent. Thank you so much, panel. We've got, I think, time for one last question if we get a wiggle on. So, Ellie, can we have our last question for today?
Yeah, you certainly can. So the next question is from Arshia in Bangalore. Are there any toolkits for successful change managers? If yes, do we have any references?
All right, so super quick panel. Toolkits, websites that you would recommend. I would start you off, everybody, with the APMG International website. Okay, I would say go there. There's a little link where you can subscribe to a monthly change management newsletter, and we'll send you this stuff out regularly. Carlie, where else would you like to recommend?
This is the Effective Change Management Handbook, and it's actually a really, really great resource and tool to have. It's always beside me, and so this is certainly one that I grabbed. That this is my go-to.
I've got mine as well.
Okay. And somewhat sadly, okay, I have my little, kind of stickers, all right, in at different parts as well. Okay, so I agree with you. Fantastic resource. John, what would you recommend?
There's a website called praxisframework.org, which I think is excellent because it gives you lots of templates. It links to knowledge issues. It gives you process charts and things that you can adapt. Don't take it wholesale. Adapt it to your organization, but it gives you a start to get into thinking about the right questions to address in any given situation.
Yeah, that's a really great resource. Very good, John. Thank you so much, because there you've got all of that curated for you. You can look at it from a knowledge dimension. You can look at it from a template dimension. You can look at it from a vocabulary dimension, actually, as well. Isn't there? The whole lexicon of terms, within it as well, that you can access. Carlie, anything that you want to add to? By the way, we're not on commission for the books. If anybody's wondering about that, they're just genuinely useful. Anything else that you want to add?
I just wanted to actually go back to a previous comment that you had made, Nick. Networking, right? LinkedIn is a really, really useful tool, and it's almost a toolkit in and of itself. If you reach out to people in the field or in other areas of interest, they can share information with you as well. And the idea of finding mentors and people to talk to, that's one of the greatest opportunities for learning that I've had in the field.
Okay. Bev, you've got another thought.
Yeah, definitely. We've talked about communities. So, networking within your local communities. We've talked about the professional associations, the CMI and the ACMP. And quite often they're very happy to share their tools with their members as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much indeed. And wow, what a fast and furious set of questions we have had, everybody. Very well done to everybody who's been online. The other resource that I would suggest to you as well, if you are an auditory learner, which I increasingly am these days. All right, used to read a lot, now I listen a lot to people reading their own books to me in audio format, then you can subscribe. Here's a plug to the Level Up Podcast. It's available on on all of the podcast platforms now. It's really good, actually, because the audio is fantastic. So I would really recommend that. Okay, it's an hour of active Q&A, and you can relive some of the highlights from today. And it's just a really nice format to be able to listen to it on. All right. Okay, very good. Thank you very much indeed. So brilliant job, producers online. We're going to hear now our closing remarks from our panel. So let's go to that if we can. So we're going to just step around the panel. Yogyata, fast and furious event for us today, a little different to some of the ones that you've been on way back when we started this journey. Your closing remarks, please.
It's great to be back here, like always, and it's great to learn and listen to the views of all other panelists here. For me, also, it's a learning experience as well.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point. We all learn from each other. My professional development's been hugely enriched, by being part of these panels over the last, 7 or 8 months or so. So I absolutely agree with that. We all learn from each other. Bev and then John.
I'd just like to say thank you to APMG for giving me the opportunity to be on the panel. It's been interesting. I've learned a lot. I've enjoyed the participation. And the hour flew by, and it feels like we could sit here and have another cup of coffee and go for another hour. So I'd just like to say thank you. Thank you to everyone that's participated.
Well, thank you for volunteering, Bev, and that's all it takes. It's just somebody volunteering, okay? And it's a little like the Hotel California now that you've checked in. Okay, that's it. We've got you. No, all right, but thank you very much indeed. It is your weekend already, but thank you for sticking with us through it. John and then Carlie, please.
Thanks, Nick. I thought I'd just delve into the world of European literature just to end up on a profound note, I hope, which is a famous quote from an Italian novelist called Giuseppe Tomasi de Lampedusa, called The Leopard. And he says, if we want things to stay as they are, things will have to change. Now, you might think this guy is a radical revolutionary, but in fact, the preceding sentence says, unless we ourselves take a hand now, they'll foist a republic on us. So think about doing something now to obviate really unpleasant change happening to you later on. Use change proactively.
Proactively. What great advice. And that is a perfect fit, if I might say, for change management. So thank you very much indeed, John. What great advice. Carlie, your thoughts, please, and then Shontelle.
So a huge thank you from me to APMG as well for this opportunity. I've had a great time, and thank you so much for all the participants and their questions and the involvement that's happening. I'm going to leave you with a quote that I happen to love that is also change management related. I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples. And that's from good old Mother Teresa. So thank you, everyone.
Well, that's really, and that's a really, really lovely one. And entirely suitable for somebody who lives so close to the Great Lakes. So thank you very much indeed, Carlie, for that really nice allegory. It's kind of brought into my mind of how to go about things and life in general. Shontelle, your closing remarks, then we'll hear from Ellie.
Fantastic session today. Thank you so much for inviting me back to the panel. I had a wonderful time with the panelists answering the questions. It was really good to get a feel for some of the challenges that persons are facing within the change management sphere. I think it's really important for us to address as a community. And I'm really happy to be a part of this panel to feed into that, resolution of those challenges. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much, Shontelle. Ellie, you moved from the facilitator seat, which is where I'm sitting today, to the question master seat. All right, and I think it was a bit of a baptism of fire, really, for you today.
It was a little bit. I mean, what a super show. I mean, well done to all of the panel for responding so quickly to the sort of waterfall of live questions that were coming in. And a huge shout out to the APMG team in the background who are gathering all that information from the live viewers and turning it into something that can come to the panel so that you can give those live viewers your advice. That, it was brilliant to be a part of. Well done, everyone.
All right, thank you so much. And for everybody who's watching online, we will put, because it's sometimes quite hard actually when we've got a fairly long URL, we will put some links, okay, for you in the curated version of the recording on YouTube. All right, so you'll be able to, in a couple of hours, be able to go over to there, and all of those quotes and the links and the websites and so on, and the places to visit and the organizations to follow up with, they'll all be linked, okay, in the notes section. It's in kind of like the description. You have to expand and click on show more. That's the clue to a better future. There you are. There's a bit of advice to be a change manager. How do you get into it? Click on the show me more, tell me more. Okay, very good. Thanks very much, everybody. Excellent questions today. Brilliant engagement and just fantastic. Now, over on our website, you can search for and view answers to over 900 questions that have appeared previously on Midday Mentors or Level Up or any of the APMG International podcasts that are structured in a kind of question and answer style. All right, it's a great free resource to connect with. More than 100 people, actually, about 120 experts now we've got from around the world. And don't forget, again, tune into the podcast version that you can find on a whole variety of different platforms. Monday the 9th coming up on the show, we're going to take a look at how to develop those must-have relationship management skills, which are so important in our business lives and also actually outside of work as well. Critically important, particularly if you're going to use volunteering and so on to build your career. Friday the 16th, we host what is going to be a very lively debate. Ellie's going to move back into the facilitation chair as she gets hold of the panel when they talk and discuss waterfall or agile as a choice as a project management technique. So that's going to bring, I think, even more comments, all right, out of our audience. An episode not to be missed. Subscribe to the show and we'll send you a personal summary of what's coming up and how you too can join us here on the panel and, of course, level up your career with APMG. Thanks very much, everybody. We'll see you on the next show.